Hello my friends, welcome back to my channel, the ultimate destination for all things creative and home decor. I'm Sonja and today's video is an absolute treat for those who love adding designer look to their homes. We'll be diving into some incredible DIY home decor ideas that not only bring that high-end look, but also won't break the bank. Some of these DIY projects I have done recently and some a few years back, so whether you're revamping your space for the season or simply looking for affordable and stylish decor, this video has something special for everyone. And who says you need a designer budget to have a designer look? Not us. So grab your crafting supplies, get ready to be inspired, and let's jump into these amazing DIYs together. So if you love turning ordinary space into extraordinary ones, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss out on our creative adventures. Without further ado, let's get started with these DIY home decor ideas that will leave your space looking like $1,000,000 without spending it. Up this basket. It was in a mint condition for $1.50. It did come from Dollarama and it still had a price tag. It was $4 at Dollarama, but I picked it up at a Value Village for a lot less, and it was still brand new. So also I went to dollar store and picked up some floral bricks as well as some deer moss, and I picked these pepper branches a while back at a dollar store. I think I have a haul on one of my channels where I had where I shared that. The basket was nice. I mean, it was, like I said, in a mint condition. I just did not love the color, so I took my cocoa chalk paint, Annie Sloan chalk paint, and just dry brushed it on just to give it a little bit of a lighter color. You could probably just leave it as is if that's the color that works for you, or paint it any color you want. That's the beauty of making your own home decor DIYs. You can really make them look any way you want, whatever works for you. So I love the way this ended up looking. And then once I had painted it, I have added some rocks to the bottom of it just to weigh it down a little bit. And then I glued the one foam brick to the other. That way I had some height. You could also add more rocks to the bottom and elevate it that way. Then I filled it in with some tissue paper, or it's actually a packing paper, but you could use tissue paper. And then I added some of these branches, but I did not like how they were kind of fanning away from each other. So I took a green twist tie and I just twist tied them together at the bottom. And that did the trick, and it kept it in place so they were close together. Then I continued filling it up with the filler paper, the packing paper, and then on top of it I just laid some of the moss, making sure I had covered all of that paper, and this just made it look like the basket was full. And then I had spread the little branches out as well, and I love the little tiny peppers on it. I think this was great. I picked this like I said, at a dollar store, but it was your dollar store with more, and they were each $5.
I swear I'll try my best to always be there, and I want you to know that I'm lost without you. I'm not without you. I hope I can show.
Hot glue gun. I have this bowl that I had actually made over. It was about 2 years ago. I will link it, the video at the end of this one, if you want to see how I created the concrete look on it and how I weighed it down and all that stuff. Because I just leave it outside and it sits outside, the top part kind of got a little bit weathered. I still have it. I'm going to use it for a different project, but I wanted to give this a bit of a new look. So I am keeping this piece of wood here, and there are rocks underneath it to weigh it down, so that way when there's winds it doesn't go flying everywhere. And then I went out to Dollar Tree and picked up all of these assortment of succulents. I'm probably not going to use all of them because the bowl and obviously the amount of succulents I have is more succulents than the size of the bowl, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But that way I have my choice of what I want to use. I also picked up some of this artificial moss, and then I also have a couple rocks here because I'm thinking I might, depending on how much moss I have left over, dress them up and make them into little moss balls, and so that I can just fill it in and have it even more of a weight down. Now this is a kind of a look for less or high-end dupe, because I had seen these, for example, here on Wayfair. It is over $100, and I can really make this one for probably under $10, which is what I like to keep it, especially if I'm going to be keeping it outside, because no matter how much money you pay, I find over the years the outdoor stuff does wear and tear because of the outdoor elements, so especially here in Canada. So I don't obviously keep it out all of winter. Pretty much spring until mid-fall is when things are kept outside. So without further ado, I'm going to get started and assemble this. So first I'm going to do a bit of a dry run just to see how I want things to look. And I'm going to cut off these little tips just so they sit nicer. And this one has obviously a very long one, so this just pulls out. I think the Dollar Tree has such a great assortment of succulents, and I lucked out because they were fully stocked, so I was able to pick and choose whichever ones I wanted to use. I wanted it to add a little bit of color, but not to be too overpowering, so I added couple colored ones, but kind of stuck mostly to the green tones. I do also love creating these look for less or high-end dupes, because there's so much decor out there, and as some prices I just don't understand sometimes where they come up with them. I know that this might be a touch smaller, although if I were to measure it, I bet you it was close to 8 inches what that one was on there. And with a little bit of creativity, you can achieve almost the same exact look as the store-bought stuff for a fraction of the price, especially for something that you're going to be keeping outside and it's going to be getting hit by elements, because I don't want to have to bring it in every time it's raining or windy or anything like that. If I have to do that I'd rather just not have anything, because it's just such a pain in the butt to be doing that, in my opinion. I know there's people, I don't even like really having cushions on my chairs for that same reason, because I to keep in mind that I have to put the cushions away every time it rains. It's too much work for me. That's just me. I mean, there's nothing wrong with I admire people that do that, but like I said, for me, I just want something simple that looks beautiful and it's functional. When gluing these on, you want to be fairly generous to do so. I was thinking about maybe removing the wood and putting like florist brick there in there, but I was worried what would happen if it was getting constantly wet from the rain and stuff. I know that I will probably have to redo a little bit of glue at the end of the season or before next year's season, just because again with all the rain and stuff the glue will come loose. But I had if you watched the video when I originally made this, I did have one of those green balls, kind of boxwood balls on there, and I had glued it and it lasted me for 3 years, so 2 or 3 years. So I mean, it really isn't, it doesn't come apart that easily as long as you're fairly generous. And I like having that piece of wood in there, and there's rocks underneath to weigh it down again for the wind and all that fun stuff that comes with spring and summer weather. So I did find that I had room for about 2 of these rocks, so I had wrapped up these with the 2 rocks with this moss. This is a different moss that I'm used to working. These are more like moss discs, and they have some sort of a black backing on them, almost like a fuzzy backing, which makes them quite thick. But you can remove that if, like I did for the wrapping of the rocks, just because it was a little bit too bulky with it on and it was showing through. And I'm only covering the top because the bottom's going to be glued to the top of it, so you can't see the bottom. And this just added a little bit extra weight. And now I just continued to fill in wherever I saw, if I saw wood or the other moss that was there from the previous project, I just ended up cutting this and filling it in until I covered all of it.
Someone did you wrong. I can see it in your eyes. It's like your fire is gone. Across your face, it is written across your face. If you wanna talk, I'm right here, not gonna leave your side. Just feel free to open up when the moment's right. Across your face, it is written across your face.
So here it is, all finished, and I just love the way it turned out. I think the color of the moss is just the right choice, and the little bit of rocks just gave it a little bit of more of a heavier look, which is what I was looking for. And I think it's going to look absolutely stunning on my table here instead of that.
If you want to go out, we can go out. You can hide away just for one night.
If you want some great looking linens, Pottery Barn is a place for you, especially the table linens. I was browsing and I came across some of these fringed table linens, and I thought they looked really nice, right up my alley, the way I want my style to go. So I had seen some napkins, but I also saw this frayed linen table throw, which is just a throw to go over your table. It's not necessarily a full tablecloth, and it had a really nice fringed edge to it, and I loved the color choices, especially this one. And but I did not love the $141 price tag that this throw came at. So after a little bit of brainstorming, I did find this canvas cloth in my stash. It did come from Dollarama. It was $4, so I had trimmed it to a size that would fit my table, and then it was kind of sewn together at the end, so I just wanted to cut that finished piece off. And then I went ahead and just pulled the string off of it, or the thread, until I reached that fringed look that the cloth had. You can go as much as you want to, or as little. Mine was about 1/2 inch of a fringe that I had left on the end. So as I'm fringing this cloth, I just want to say hello, welcome. My name is Sonja. Welcome if you're new, welcome back if you're returning. And I'm super excited about today's video because I absolutely love all the dupes that I did. So I hope you guys enjoy it as much as I enjoyed making it. So here it is, and I think it's very close to the inspiration. And now moving on to the next one, I wanted to get some placemats. Now I used to have these green ones that I picked up at Dollarama for $1.50, but I'm not sure if I threw them out or if I just can't find them, because it seems to be a repeated thing that I can't find things in my house. But they were very much the same style of these. So I still wanted to show you, because I will, even if I can't find them, I will go purchase these. But I still wanted to show you how easy it is to redo them if you don't have them in the right color. Like mine were really bright blue, and I no longer want that color, so I wanted to change them up into black. So I did find these, so I took them into my garage and then used this spray paint. Almost had a meltdown because I could not open it. It has a child-proof lid, and apparently I'm a child who cannot open it. So I gave it a nice generous coat, let it completely dry, and it's okay to use it because you're not putting food directly on it, you're putting plates on it, so you can use the spray paint and spray paint it really in any color that you want. I just did it in black, and I think this turned out really, really nice. It is a matte black, even though it looks shiny here, and I think the contrast between the plate color and the tablecloth color is great. And I thought for about $1.50, not so bad. A set of 4 would cost me around $8 versus $57 that it was on the Pottery Barn's website. Now moving on to another inspiration, going back to the fringed linen. They had these napkins, and I thought they were great. Again, set of 4 in the color that I really liked. They were $68. A little steep for napkins that most likely might end up getting stained so bad that you are going to have to toss them after several reuses anyways. So I went ahead with that same material that I had, and from, just to refresh your memory, from the Dollarama, I cut a piece off of it to about the size of that I thought a napkin size would be. You could take an actual napkin and put it up against and measure it out. I just eyeballed it, and then again it had that double end, so cut that off because you can't fringe that. And then I went ahead and started fringing it, and to me it's such a satisfying process to pull the string out. So with the whole piece of fabric that I picked up at Dollarama for $4, I did have it on hand, but I'm still gonna count it as paying $4 plus tax for it. I was able to make 1 tablecloth and about 5 napkins. So not bad at all for $4, whereas it would have cost me well over $150 for the table runner and napkins, 4 napkins. So here it is. I absolutely love it, and so very close to the original inspiration. So moving on, for my next one, I wanted to complete the setting look. So I went ahead and started looking for some napkin rings and came across this one, and I thought perfect because I knew just the perfect piece that I already had on hand that I was going to toss. So it was free, whereas a set of 4 is $42, and it is this belt. So I just cut the size of a ring. You could use, if you have some napkin rings laying around, as a guide. I just again eyeballed it to what I thought the ring size should be, trimmed it to that size, and then I went ahead and cut it, and then use hot glue to attach the pieces. You can go an extra mile and add another layer across the hot glue, so that way you don't see the hot glue. I don't think you'll see the hot glue anyways, because once you slide the napkins in, nobody's gonna see where it's joined. I thought this was such an easy DIY, and you can literally make it with any belt. You can thrift belts and just make them, there's really some nice colored belts too that you could use for like spring or even Valentine's. You can find bright green, bright yellow, pink, red belts, all sorts of different belts, and they would act great as napkin rings. So I thought this was, like I said, such an easy, inexpensive DIY, and I think it looks absolutely fabulous in the table setting that I've kind of started to put together. Now, to elevate the look of your table setting, you need some lighting or some candles or candelabras, and my goodness, this Pottery Barn have lots of it. Lots of different shapes, styles, looks, different materials that it's made out of. I did, however, settle on this hurricane candle holder with gold accents, simply because I thought, what a great way to use some of my leftover lids from all the Bath and Body Works candles, because I have been saving all those lids, and I thought that turned out that would work really good for the base of the this candle holder. Now, as you saw, the price of the small was $59, and a large one was $134. Mine was kind of in between, as I am using the little vase, the glass vase that you can purchase at Dollar Tree or Dollarama for $1.50, and then I'm going to use some spun gold paint, and I also used antique gold paint as well, just to kind of mix them all up. I was originally going to try and figure out a matching color to the lid, the lip of the lid, but ended up thinking that was much easier to just paint the lid to match the gold that I was going for. You could also, which I would strongly advise you to use, some painter's tape just to get a straight, clean line. My husband took my painter's tape and I no longer had it, so I just used freehand, but I strongly recommend using painter's tape. And the nice thing about this, you can make your top gold part as thick or as thin as you want. I did go a little bit thicker than the original inspiration, just because I liked it a little bit better that way. So once I had painted the top, I had glued the bottom to the lid, and I did leave the rubber part of the lid on because the glass wedged right in the middle of it. So I thought that was pretty good way to keep it in place. And then I decided that it did need a second coat of the on the top again, just to smooth it out. So I proceeded on painting the top, and then I also painted the bottom as well, just to match the colors. I added a battery operated candle. Now I would probably use a little bit shorter one, but I just wanted to show you what that would look like. So for my last project, Pottery Barn is a great place to get inspiration for all your flower holders, your jugs, your vases, your pots, any sort of thing like that. They have so many different ones to choose from different colors, different techniques that they use to finish them. So I really liked that, the look of the first one that I just shared. And I knew I had a vase that was similar to that. It was an actual wine bottle from before, but I was trying to figure out how I wanted to finish it, what finish I wanted to add to it. And there were, like I said, so many different ones to choose from. So this is the shape that I liked, but then I, like I said, was trying to figure out which look did I want to go with, and I did end up finding one at the end, and this is the one that I liked. I liked it because it was a little bit darker, still very much the same look, but just a touch darker. So if you've been a follower for a long time, you might have came across this DIY that I did, where I painted the bottle white, added some jute rope on top, and then I had some writing at the front of the bottle. I haven't used this in my decor for about last 2 years, so I decided it's time to upcycle it again. So I took the jute rope off. It took a little bit of elbow grease to get it off. So I got most of it off, and then I was going to come back to it because I needed to burn it. I wanted to burn the rope, but I had daycare kids who were napping, and I did not want to set the jug on fire just in case, because that would be a really tough one to explain to the fire department and the ministry. So I just went ahead and painted it. I wanted to add a little bit of creamier color to just some areas, and so I'm using old ochre from any Sloan chalk paint and just randomly adding it into random spots wherever it was a little bit chipped, the paint was chipped and the glass was showing. I covered that areas, just no rhyme and reason. And then I went ahead and got some dirt. Now it is winter here. All the dirt is very wet, especially even the one in the garage. So it would probably work a little bit better if the dirt was a little bit drier. I probably should have taken it out earlier, but nevertheless, I still achieved the look that I was going for. So I brushed it all over the wet paint. So you can see it's just sticking to the wet paint. And then I went ahead and rubbed it off with my hand and just tried rubbing it in, but then decided that it was probably better if I just took a towel and just rubbed it in as much as I could. And this gave it a really neat look. I wasn't crazy about the lines, but I knew I was going to do some more paint blending, so I wasn't too worried about it. So because I was wiping this off, there was no drying time in between the coats of paint that I went ahead and added. So the next one is called, it's just acrylic paint, and it's called Ivory Cream. And I just dipped my rag into the paint and then just rubbed it in, which this in turn made the other paint kind of brought it back to wetness, and it was just blending everything together. And this did help with all those lines and just smoothing the lines out. So I continued to do this through the whole piece, just in some areas adding a little bit more, in some areas adding a little bit less. And you can see where there wasn't any dirt paint on, it was lighter, which is what I was trying to achieve, just different tones throughout the bottle. Once I was happy with all the blending, I let the whole jug dry. And then when I came back to it, I did end up burning the stuff off, but for some reason the camera did not turn on. But this is not what the tutorial is about anyways. And I went ahead and painted with that old ochre just the top of the bottle in some areas. However, because I was holding it and I was trying to do the bottom part, I did rub some of the paint off, so I end up coming back to it again in a little bit. The next step, as you saw, I took some of that old ochre and dipped my paintbrush into it, and then dipped the paintbrush directly into the water and applied it in random spots and then wiped it down. This just softened up any darker spots if they were too dark and I didn't love them. It just softened that up a little bit. If you had white antiquing glaze, you could also do that with that. It would kind of give you pretty much the same look. So I did go a little bit heavier with the paint here and a little less water on this area, just to give it different tones. When you look at aged vases and things like that, antique vases, they do have a lot of different tones because they have been, exposed to different sides. Different sides were exposed to the sun, so it makes things fade differently. And now for the top, I just took some of that dirt and added it to my ivory cream paint and then just painted that on the top. And then I just also blended it a little bit right around the top edge. Now at this point you could stop here, but I did want to go a little tiny bit further, and I got my crafting sponge and ended up sponging it on, and just to add a little bit of texture to the piece. So I took some of that old ochre, put it on the lid, and then I wetted my sponge and just ran random areas with it. And then to finish it, I just dabbed the towel on it a little bit, smoothed out any edges that were created. There weren't that many with the sponge, and I absolutely love the way this turned out, and I do love it with the flowers, which I just added. And I think the little bumpy top kind of adds extra character to the vase. For my next project, I picked up this vase, and I'm going to paint it with the Rust-Oleum chalked paint in charcoal. This was I love the shape of this vase. It's nothing like out of this world, but I just love the shape of it. So, but I don't like clear vases, so I wanted to give it some new life. So I'm going to be creating a more of a concrete look, but more on the darker side than a lighter side. I have done lighter side projects before. You can see all those in my previous DIYs. I can try and find some videos and link them for you to see, but I wanted to go with a more of a darker charcoal, it's not charcoal, it's a darker cement kind of stone look is what I'm going for. This first coat is just going to be a solid coat. I'm not really particularly looking for a major coverage, but I want it to be covered fairly well. And then while that's drying, I did get my paint ready for the next step. For the next step, I'm going to be using mostly acrylic paint. So I'm going to do black, white, and gray. And then I also had some brownish reddish chalk paint from Dollar Tree that I picked up. It's not the greatest quality, I have to say, but it did work for this project. So I'm going to put them all separately, and then I'm going to use those same paper towels and just go over the piece. So the piece wasn't completely dry. I did want it to be a little bit wet. I just didn't want it to be so wet before I proceeded with this next step. So I'm going to dip my, like I said, paper towel in each color at the same time kind of thing. And then I'm going to dab it all over the vase. That will give me that textured look that I'm going for. Didn't put too much pressure when I was dabbing on, but there's really no right or wrong way of doing this. You just keep going until you get the desired look you're going for. I guess I should have taken that price tag off from the bottom of the vase. I just love the way this turned out. I think all the different colors kind of blended well together and created the texture that I was texture look that I was going for. fill this pot up with water because I need to melt some candle, because I'm going to be recreating these candles. As you can see, they go up to in price to $89, which is a little bit too much, but I absolutely love how just how cozy they feel, and they don't feel like Valentine screaming in your face. So I had this candle on hand, and then at Dollarama I found this heart-shaped bowl for $4. It was in with all of their kitchen ceramics, so I thought that was a pretty good dupe for the other candles. So I melted my candle, and then I'm going to use the wick that was in there and just add it to the bowl. I used a little bit of just some of that candle wax as glue for the bottom of the candle, for both the one that had the little metal piece and for the other two, just to keep them in place. And I'm also using chopsticks just to wrap the wick around. The one thing that I'm going to say with the wick wasn't very waxy, so it did cause a little bit of an issue, but nothing too much. But I should have picked up another candle because there wasn't as much of wax as I would have liked it to. So just keep that in mind. If you want to have the bowl full, get another candle. You can also get scented candles, or if you want, you can add some of your own scents, like the essential oil scents. Now I always get a little confused with that because I've read that certain essential oils cannot be used in the candles because of their smoke point or something like that. I don't know. So just make sure you research that and use the right stuff. So this is it for this dupe. It was very easy. You just want to allow it to cool off, and that's it. That's all it took, and it cost me literally, if I were to fill it up completely, it would cost me $7 to do so, because 2 candles would be $3, and then the bowl was $4, and I think that's much better deal and leaves room in my budget for other things. I also want to let you guys know not to forget to trim the wick. I left mine out because I'm going to be adding more wax. So I picked these hearts up for $2.75. So then the one had another heart on it, so I just needed to pop that off because I'm going to be recreating this artisan handcrafted heart object. So I think this would look good on your shelf in your hutch, or if you have any floating shelves. I think that's or just beside a vase on a table. I think it's just such a nice piece. There are 2 ways that you can do this. I'm going to show you one way, and then I'm going to tell you about the other way, or I'm going to tell you about the other way first and then show you how I did it. So the first things first, you want to glue these. You can use your hot glue, you can use Gorilla Glue, whatever glue you have. You can use both, just don't put them over top of each other. And then I put my water bottle on top of it just to keep it in place while the hot glue was setting, so it wouldn't come apart. So the one way that you can do it is do a drywall compound and just put it all over it, so you can get lots of nice texture on it. That's one way of doing it. My way, because I did not have any drywall compound, what I thought I did, but it kind of dried out. So I'm just going to take my white paint and I'm going to add a good amount of cornstarch, not as much as ended up falling into the bowl, because you're going to see I'm going to end up putting some of it back, but a good amount. You wanted it to be thick. You want it to be able to give you that texture. You could also paper mache this if you really wanted to, or you can. I didn't need to put any color blocking on it because I found that because the paint was so thick, none of the redness leaked through. But if you were just to paint it, I would use some sort of a color blocker so your paint doesn't leak through. Also, one advice is the foam brush did work really well on here, so no need to use a bristle brush. And also, one more tip is to leave one side unpainted, because until all the other sides dry, then paint that one, because as you will see, it's gonna get really messy. So if you want to keep things clean, don't paint one side so you have somewhere to hold. When you're painting, don't be shy. Apply a generous amount so you can cover the cracks. So you can get all those little textures on there. Like I said, don't be shy. Go every direction possible and just have fun with it.
For traffic lights. And I really wanna know if I will ever figure out where the road goes. Even if I'm falling down, I will keep on searching for my highs. You can say I lost my mind.
So I absolutely love with the way this turned out. I could put a little bit of drywall compound on the cracks so you can see them, but other than that, I absolutely love it. This DIY I made several years ago, and it was super easy to do. I picked up these wooden balls or beads at Michael's. I used my 40% coupon to pick them up, and then I had this twine. I think this twine came from Dollar Tree, and I've seen these at the stores ranging from $20 and up, and I made them, I think, altogether for under $5. So I was pretty happy with that result, and I've used this in my decor ever since I've made it for almost every single season. So some of the supplies that I recommend to use is a large needle, and you will also need some scissors. You could possibly thread the rope through those holes without a needle, but this should make the job a little bit easier. So I went ahead and threaded all the beads through. I made it as long as I wanted it to be, so the length, it doesn't really matter. You make it as long as you want to. You could also paint them, spray paint the beads, paint them, stain them. I left mine as they are because I wanted to go for that natural look, but you could make one for every different season. I did make one a while back also for my lemon theme, where I did them in yellow and white. And then for the ends, I wanted to create a bit of a tassel. So I just wrapped some rope around the pencil, and then I tied it right at the bottom of the pencil. And then I threaded the bottom rope that was left over from threading the beads through, and I tied that around that. And voila, the tassel was created. Very simple, and I think it gave it a nice touch at the end.
Life is a winding road.
Now for my next DIY, I am going to, this is definitely a look for less. I am going to be recreating a lemon tree. Now at the end, I'm going to be sharing with you also just a picture of a pepper tree that I made. Very similar idea, just used different supplies. So for this one, you're going to need some tin. I am using these garden stakes, and then also some moss and some leaves, as well as some lemons. So first things first, I'm going to assemble this stick. I will be using a ton of hot glue for it to set in the galvanized tin, and I'm also going to use some florist foam. This is not the one that you can soak up and then that you need to soak up and let. This is just a styrofoam florist foam. And then I also used some rocks that I had on hand, so that way they would weigh it down, so it wasn't that easily tipped over. And then I proceeded and just stained the stick so it has a more realistic wood look. And then I added some moss to the bottom of it just to complete the pot look. And then I had used some floral wire to attach all the stems for the leaves and branches. And then I will be using a little bit of hot glue there as well, just to keep everything in place. Once I had attached all the branches, I was trying to replicate that picture that I shared at the beginning, so that's how I decided how many branches I'm going to put on. I am cutting some of that crafter's wire to attach the lemons, and because lemons are a bit of, I want to say it's like hard styrofoam, because I don't think that they're like full on plastic. It is a little bit softer, and I can stick that wire inside of them with a little bit of hot glue, so that way I have something that I can attach these lemons with to the branches.
My eyes, you can say I lost my mind. I will keep on holding my head high, even if the sky is falling down. Jumping from cliffs.
I absolutely love with the way this turned out, and I think it's such a great planter to add to your decor, whether that be for the summer or you want that bright, fresh look during the winter months now from January on. Really, you do you decorate the way you want to. I love adding a little bit of color, probably after Valentine's, so this would definitely be something that I'd be adding to my decor. And so after some brainstorming, I ventured out into my garden and picked up this branch. I got this off of my lilac tree, and then I had trimmed it off, all the branches that were shooting off, but leaving about an inch on the main branch. This way, this provided a base for my lavender, and the lavender that I'm using is from Walmart, and it was $1, I think 49, if I'm right. And then I had this pot from Dollarama that was $3, and then I also had some foam, floral foam, that I was going to use it. These were just odds and ends that I had laying around my house. So the first thing that I did is I took these lavenders, took the price off, and then I had trimmed off the branches. This is such a beautiful lavender. I think probably the best one out there. I like it so much more than the one from Dollar Tree, although the one from Dollar Tree is really nice, and it was actually $1.24. So I live in Canada, so if the prices are a little bit different than the US prices, that is why. So I just use some cutting shears. I'm not sure what these are meant for, but they work really well for the wire. I just randomly find tools in my husband's toolbox and see what works. I'm sure that's not the way you're supposed to do things, but that's the way I do them. And I often get into trouble, and this is why I wasn't allowed to use a drill for this project. I should go out and get myself my own drill so I can just have it and use it whenever I can. So I did use screwdriver, but again, it wasn't working as well as I was hoping. So I found this picture hanging thing that you get in a set from Dollar Tree, and screwing it into the branches worked actually quite well. I did have to trim the ends a little bit more, and once I made the hole, I just put a little bit of glue and shoved them right in there with that glue. So as I mentioned, this was definitely an inspiration from Wayfair. And as you can see, the price is $209.99, and that is 60% off for a 72-inch fall lavender topiary in stone pot. So I could take this further and create a stone effect on my pot, but I am planning on putting that pot in like a basket, so that way I didn't want to do any of that, but you can definitely do that as well. And mine was about, I would say, about 4 feet tall, so so a little bit shorter, because the other one is about 6 feet, but nevertheless, I think you could still make this for a lot less, even if I would have found a branch that was tall enough. I was just worried that I was going to make it a little bit too top heavy. Now I am using floral foam because right now it's fairly cold outside, and I didn't want it to bring in concrete and mix it inside. But if I decide to take this tree outside, which I'm thinking I might, I will go out and get some concrete and actually use a different container to and put this branch in wet concrete, and that way it will be heavier. Now if you were to do that right off the bat, you could totally use a lot longer branch and make the tree 6 feet. But I like I said, right now I'm still keeping it inside because we still have a lot of snow outside, and it is very cold. It's fairly cold still, so this is how I did it. It's just to give you a couple different options what you can do with this. And again, instead of using the little picture hanger to make holes in it, you can totally use a very, very small bit on your drill and drill holes in gently. That would work as well. I love making these trees. That's why I'm going to be sharing the other two that I made prior, one last year and one the year before, just so you can get even more inspiration. And everything had come from Dollar Store supplies, not necessarily Dollar Tree, because we also have Dollarama here and your dollar store and more as well. Once I got towards the end, the top little piece of branch was giving me a bit more hard time than any of the other ones. I think it was because it was the thickest one. But I just want to say that if you use your drill, you probably won't be struggling as much as I was. Once it was all assembled, I did actually shake it up too, just to see if the lavender was gonna fall off, and the lavender's good in there. I think making those holes and sticking it in with some hot glue definitely helped it be more secure. So here I am hot gluing these floral foam pieces, and I knew I was going to struggle with this. I just knew it. I do think pouring concrete in will definitely be the easiest way to do this, but I ended up adding another foam piece to the top just to make it a little bit more secure. And then I am going to be filling the whole thing with some rocks. I have lots of rocks on hand. My daughter, when she was little, decided she wanted to do rock collection, but she was collecting all the rocks, not just pretty rocks. So I had to store them in shoe boxes under her bed. now she had grew out of that and cleared from under her bed, but I kept all the rocks first for daycare and then for the crafting. So I had lots on hand, so I'm going to, but first I also added some dirt as well, just to keep the foam from moving too much while it's setting. I'm sure there's other ways you can do this without adding dirt, but this is all the stuff I had in my craft room, so I utilized it. The rocks definitely weighed the whole thing down and made it even more sturdier. So then to top it up, I did use some deer moss just to fill it in, and this is just odds and ends that I had again in my craft room. So my total project cost me $7.96. If I want to include maybe the hot glue that I used and some of the items that I already had on hand, it would still be under $10. That's like $200 savings, and I love the way this tree turned out. I would love to know what you guys thought. Did you like it just as much as I did? And then make sure you stick around till after to check out the other two trees. One was made out of pepper branches and the other one is a lemon tree.